Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so happy to be in the GeekOut community. Let's just make sure I am in the GeekOut community. Holy moly, that was not fun. So, of course, being a geek, you fall in love with tools and you start to recommend those tools to your clients, right? And then, especially because of a lot of our clients, we are very deeply invested in their ecosystem. And so we are usually admins on their accounts, right? This is very common as an agency. Well, so I have a wonderful client. Her name is Sasha Carrion. She's amazing. And she is doing a live presentation today. So last night we were up late getting her all squared away, and she's using StreamYard. Well, went into the wrong studio, hoping I was here, and went about solid 9 minutes in. And I'm like, this is weird. Nobody's showing up. No geeks. Hey, Madison. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. And I just kind of look up in the top right. I realized that, yep, went into the wrong studio. So that is 100% my bad. I had to clean up her stuff real quick. And now I am back with the geeks. Felt like I'm coming home. So appropriate. And I just love how the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, just humbles you every day, right? Just when you think that you got things figured out and you're feeling good, it's like, oh, honey, just stay on back here in humble pie. Come on. Oh, man. But so glad to be with you guys. So glad to be with the geeks. You guys are amazing. All right. And I'm just looking down at my phone super quick, making sure everything is streaming good. All right. We are good. Oh, my gosh, Madison, it was horrible. So, and I think I've cleaned it all up, but it's like you go live and it's live and like people are coming right in. So you never know. So, but anyway, happy to be here. And we have a really cool topic today that I'm very excited to share with you guys. So this particular topic happened because of three reasons. And it was just, I think a lot of the stuff that we are choosing to share and what we're choosing to focus on is obviously all in prep for our Create Continuity Challenge next week, 19th and 20th. Be there, be cool. I'll drop the link, and I think Dan and Susan are on with me too. I'll drop the link here. So as the Create continuity challenge.com. There you go. createcontinuitychallenge.com. I'll show it up on the screen. So as we're prepping for that, it's really important that we wanted to keep it 2 days. We wanted to keep it something that is really useful, but doesn't take a ton of your time during the day. We know all of you guys are really busy, and it gives you enough so that you can run with something. And so that something will be a blueprint of what is going to be the continuity plan for your level 1, level 2 through your funnel system in order for you to grow your business, reach your audience, and get max engagement. Now, on that front, we want to try to keep it really streamlined, right? And because we're keeping it to 2 days, it's super important for us to be very targeted in what we talk about. So one of the things that I have found in all of my time in running an agency that has been probably the single most important in the people that we work with have been these, what we call extract and clarify sessions. They came about, we did it naturally, just working with clients, and then now more systematically, especially when we do our funnel hub in a day service. Tuesday, we meet with the client for 2 hours doing what we call an extract and clarify session. And then on Friday, we'll meet, and by the end of that Friday 5-hour session, we'll launch their funnel hub. And the reason why we decided to do the extract and clarify is that in order to do a funnel hub, you have to be able to understand the things that come out of the extract and clarify session. And what we found is that when we tried to just do the funnel hub in and of itself, right head on, it didn't go very well. And we weren't able to cross that finish line in a day. But when we add on the extract and clarify session, what we're able to do is quickly within that 2 hours, be able to decipher and decide exactly what needs to go in that funnel hub. What does it need to say? What is the invitation? What is the message? And how do we go about building it? And even what are the offers? They'd either stay or go. So hugely powerful session. Well, I don't know of any other better service that we offer than that extract and clarify, that essentially what it's doing is creating the bedrock of continuity. And when I say continuity, I'm meaning the way that you show up, what you talk about, your messaging, getting clear in terms of like, this is the stuff that I really care about. And that is a continuous and constant thing that comes from you and people know what to expect from you. Then that is the essence of continuity, right? So today, because extract and clarify will not be a part of the create continuity challenge, we thought, hey, let's do the Alex Ramosi thing. Let's give away the information for free. And then if you do want to implement, our Geek Out Academy members will have a workshop on it. But for anybody else, we also offer an agency service where you can do that extract and clarify session. So that was the number one motivator for today's Geek Camp. The second motivator, which was a welcome surprise, and I love the synchronicity of all of it. Yes, thank you, Dan. I'm going to go ahead and yours is a little bit prettier. I'll pop it on up there. Okay, awesome. The second motivator behind all of it was that yesterday I'm sitting on a 2CCX training, and lo and behold, the linchpin has evolved. And it's evolved in some really awesome ways. I think it'll continue to evolve as we move towards Funnel Hacking Live. But the evolution that came yesterday was that the number one thing that Russell recommends that you work on is a funnel hub and a newsletter. Now, I have a little bit of a mixed feelings about this. All right. So I think that the idea of starting with a funnel hub and a newsletter is really solid in terms of it gives you the best possible bedrock for your company. I think the challenge in starting with a funnel hub and newsletter, and where I've been a little bit resistant to it, is that a lot of times, especially the people that we work with, are in that I'm trying to get to a 10 to 30K consistent month, right? And when you're in that range, money is tight, expenses are high, and you're just trying to be very particular about revenue generating things as your priority. And a funnel hub does not make you money immediately, right? It is not a direct, like, cash in, cash out type of exchange. But the process to make a funnel hub is the exact thing that you need in order to make the revenue based funnels, or in order to talk about the message and get clarity, in order for people to buy your thing, right? And so while you may not bring your funnel hub to life just because of pure kind of time and resources, the process to make a funnel hub will help you infinitely in everything that you're trying to do, no matter where in the linchpin you're deciding to start. So today is dedicated towards helping you do that. And that is extract and clarify. So let me go ahead and I know, Kayleen. Yeah, don't worry. We'll bring you as many goods as we can. So shout out to Dan, Kayleen, Christopher, Warren, Madison, Ben. Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. So glad to be here with you guys and not in my client's account. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into what we got going on today. All right. So this is create continuity through extract and clarify. And there are going to be 4 key things that we're going to talk about today. And these are the 4 things that we do with every single client when we're doing an extract and clarify session. And so what you will get from today is being able to do this as your own exercise. And let me go ahead and I'm going to put this in present mode so that it is nice and big for you guys. There we go. Okay, that's a lot better. Great. Okay, so when we start an extract and clarify session, I always start with this question, and that is, what is your big invitation? Now, most of the time, people will do one of 2 things. They'll freeze, right? Being like, oh gosh, I don't know. What is my big invitation, right? Or they'll just start kind of rambling, right? On like, well, I do this and I do that. And I make this offer and I have this product and I do this service, and all of it is good, right? All of it is something that we want to capture. So when you're doing this on your own, journal or speak out loud and record, depending on what works best for you. Just anything that comes to your mind about what is your big invitation. This is the reason why I start here is because I want to establish the foundation and the assumption that you have a big invitation. You might not have thought about it that way. You might not have articulated that way, but you have a big invitation. If you are an entrepreneur and you are in the funnel world, you have a big invitation. So, the first question, what is your big invitation? Take some time, write that down. Whatever comes to you, speak it or write it, whatever works best for you. Now, oftentimes when I'm in the interviews, these 2-hour sessions, part of an interviewing technique in order to get the most out of people is you always ask the big question and you sit in awkward silence as they try to answer. The worst thing you can do when you're trying to extract is to hijack that process, right? It's the struggle of the answer and the struggle of the like sitting with the question and being able to articulate it back. It's such a key thing in the whole process. So, if you are doing this with yourself and you ask that question and you feel that struggle, allow yourself to stay in struggle and do get whatever you can out of your head and your heart. Once you feel like you've exhausted that and go a little bit beyond yourself in terms of comfort, right? Once you feel like you've exhausted that and you might still be a little uncomfortable, but you might not have gotten all the answers. The next thing that you can get to get a little bit more juice out of that squeeze is to ask yourself a little bit slightly different way. What is your hope for the world? Now, again, these are big questions because I am making the assumption, and I know it is a good, safe assumption because of where you're at and what you're trying to do. You have a way that you see the world or that you'd prefer to see the world, or a future state, as Russell says, of how you'd want to see the world work, right? So you would just sit with that question. What is your hope for the world? Okay. Again, take whatever you can in terms of write it or articulate it, whatever works best for you, and get it out of your head and out of your heart into something that you can be using for later. Okay. Pen, paper, or articulation, either one works. Okay, the third one is, what problem do you spend the most time on? This question usually annoys me to high heaven when I'm asked it, because I feel like I spend my time on a lot of problems and I spend my time in a lot of different areas. And you might feel that way too. It doesn't matter. Write everything that comes to your head down. We're going to talk about what to do with that in a little bit, right? So you probably spend a lot of your time every day on a handful of problems, or you spend your time thinking about it, you spend your time reading, you spend your time listening to audio, you spend your time on YouTube. There is definitely probably some kind of problem or problem space that you're really interested in, okay? And that you spend a lot of time trying to understand or trying to get better at. Okay. Once you've gone through these things, right? And I really would encourage you to go with the joy factor and go with the non-reasonable, irrational, doesn't make sense, just what lights you up kind of responses. Once you have that, the next thing that we do in the extract and clarify session, right? And it's a little bit harder when you're doing it for yourself, because as an interviewer, I can mirror back what I'm hearing from that person, right? So like, hey, I heard this. Is that what that means? Or hey, I heard this. Is that what that means? And so anything as you're reading back through your answer or re-listening to your answer that you can dive deeper on, do that. Okay. That's step one of extract and clarify. Normally, just to kind of put it in perspective, it takes about 30 minutes just on this question. Okay, about 20, 30 minutes just on this question to really tease it out and dive in there and get a bunch of details. Once we're done with that, then the next question that I go to is a more classic example. And it's so synchronistic. Russell actually, he was talking about this yesterday in our 266 training about the umbrella brand. So, and I was talking to Dan just earlier today about the umbrella brand. And what the umbrella brand is essentially, it is your entire universe, right? It's everything that makes you what you're doing, and everything that you're doing can fall underneath it. So whether that be your offers or your products or your services or your content or your messages, there's a big umbrella of things that you care about, right? And that you're doing. And I'm not meaning it from a pure business structure perspective. I'm meaning it more just from if you want to use that language, DBA, or the thing that's out there in the world, that umbrella brand, right? So in our world, in GeekOut is the big umbrella brand. And journey crafting, which is something that we are deeply leaning into lately, is the vehicle, right? So Geek Out and journey crafting are the big kind of umbrella concepts that no matter what we do, we're going to tie to those ideas. So for instance, journey crafting is the thing that creates continuity in your business. And so in terms of umbrella, we're going to try whatever we can to put everything in there, right? But the big umbrella concepts. So when we're doing this with clients and extract and clarify, we're looking for what is the overarching umbrella. Now, it happens that about half the time, the clients that I work with, they know their big umbrella. They know, like, I really care about this thing. This is my big umbrella. And the other half of the time, they start at the pieces. So they say, well, I kind of have this over here, and I kind of have this over here, and I kind of have this over here. And so then our goal in this exercise is to say, well, what is a big umbrella that could go over all of those things? Let me give you a real world example. So Greg Murray, he's one of my clients, amazing guy. He specializes in Airbnb, specifically in rental arbitrage. And he has an amazing technique to get people into the Airbnb field and space within 30 days, even if they don't own a property. Okay. Greg owns a construction agency. He also is an interior designer. He has his own Airbnb properties. He owns creative spaces. He owns peer spaces, and he is an active member inside of the Detroit downtown area, right? So it seems like there's kind of a relation between all those things, but not entirely. But when we really sat down and talked about, like, what does he care about and what are the offers related to, it is all around he wants people to be able to leave a legacy for their families, not just for their stories and themselves to move on, but their contribution into the world to continue on. That's really important to him. So he has an overarching, back in the recesses of his business, called legacy consulting. And so we're like, well, isn't that the umbrella? And he was like, oh my gosh, it is. And so everything now is tied to this idea of legacy. So whether it be the construction or the interior design or the Airbnb or the creative space or the pure space, everything is under this legacy umbrella, this legacy consulting, legacy concept umbrella. And so in this exercise, whether you are a top down, I know the umbrella and now I just need the pieces, or a bottom up, I know the pieces and now I need the umbrella. In this activity, it's spending a little time of just jotting down everything that's in your head and your heart. What's the umbrella? What are the pieces underneath? Okay. So now we have those two pieces, right? We have the what's your big invitation, and we have your what's your umbrella, which is a little bit more tactical. Okay, the next thing that we do in the extract and clarify session is something that I call your world. Okay, so this is playing into your big invitation, but we're going to take it a little bit further. So in the world of game design, there is a concept called world creation. It is one of the coolest concepts, right? And there's a whole field around world creation. I have one of my best friends, her son is studying sound design, and him and I were geeking out about, he does sound design for video games. And him and I were geeking out about how the sound contributes to the world, and just this concept of, like, what leaves sound like in this world, what bricks falling down sound like in this world, right? What the sky, changing colors sounds like, if it sounds like anything, in this world. But every single game has created a world where inside that world, the natural laws of reality don't apply anymore. There's new rules and there's new laws and there's new ways that I can act in that world that I can't do in the real world, in the world that I know. So as entrepreneurs, whenever you are creating an umbrella and creating a big invitation, you are also creating a world where the current rules that your customers may have, there's a new set of rules in your world, right? So in Russell's world, I am an entrepreneur. Outside of Russell's world, before I got into Russell's world, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was interested in being an entrepreneur, but in Russell's world, it's not a question. I am an entrepreneur because only entrepreneurs are here, right? And inside of that world, even further, I'm a funnel hacker, right? And so and being a funnel hacker means I now all of a sudden have, like, the keys to the kingdom of entrepreneurship, right? So the reason I show the balls and the courts up here is that we know this to be true time and time again. And it's a natural phenomenon in all of us humans that this happens. So every single one of those is a circular object, which means nothing. If I were to go to an alien planet, right, and give them just a ball, it would just be a ball. It has no meaning whatsoever. But the second that I put a little color on it, some different stripes and did some different ways, and then I put it inside of a court and I have these lines on the court, this is now a world that has rules and structure and things that defy the outside world, right? In this world, when that orange thing goes into that hoop, you score 3 points or 1 point, right? In the soccer world, and this is where I don't know soccer, so all you soccer people are going to have to keep me honest. But, all of a sudden, all I have to do is get that ball inside of this square thing, and my team gets a point, right? So in that world, I'm successful whenever I do that. Same with the beach one was a stretch, right? I was trying to go for the kid angle. I might just skip it. But in the volleyball world, which I'm really familiar with, again, when I look at that volleyball and I see those 3 cross lines, right? And I know that I see that court and I see, the 10-foot line and I see the net and I see the 9 zones on the net and I see the 6 zones on the court. These are all rules and things that I can do magically inside of a volleyball court that I can't do outside, right, of that court. This happens inside of your entrepreneurial space. So when you invite people into your world, you are creating special rules, special laws, special ways of being, special ways of thinking, special ways of saying, right? So for instance, in the geek world, it is without a doubt, right? You come into the geek world and what we know is that you are a deep expert in what you do. You spent a lot of time in your craft. You're generally maybe a little uneasy or uncomfortable with marketing, but you're in it to win it. And the way that you want to serve with your particular craft is you want to help somebody in a guided learning experience be able to actually do the thing, right? That's what we know in the geek world. We also know it's possible because we have clear intention. We have journey mapping. We have the milestones that get you there. We have the celebration moments that we know create those things, right? So inside the geek world, we are slowly but surely making the rules of what's possible when you're in the geek world, right? And I would encourage you to do the same in yours. So when we're doing extract and clarify sessions, some of the questions that after I talk about this metaphor is I say, what do you believe that most people think that's not possible? That's not true, right? What are some of the rules that you willingly and gladly break? What are some of the rules that you willingly and gladly put in place, right? What do you see that a lot of people don't see? So I'm going to go back to Greg, for example. He'll go into any space, right? And immediately what he'll see is he'll immediately see all the places where it's not Airbnb friendly. So like the pads on the door, the locks, the lights, the way the parking is structured, the way that the in and out of the building is structured. I mean, he'll see things with his expert eye that in his world, now he can see like, oh, this Airbnb is possible because of these things, right? And so again, in your world, you have probably a whole set of rules that you might not even be totally conscious of because you've been living it for so long. But when you're inviting people into your world, it now is this amazing opportunity. Okay, world creation. The fourth and final thing that we do in the extract and clarify session is the deep extraction. So we've primed the pump in terms of what's your big invitation. We've primed the pump in terms of what is your umbrella brand, more of a structured way of asking. And we've asked about, okay, dream big, what's the magic world that you have created for yourself and that you're going to invite people into? Now, here's where it gets really cool. So we're at about an hour in now. Usually at an extract and clarify session, we're at about an hour in. This is where I'll start with, okay, this is awesome. And they've probably already told a lot about what they've done and what they're doing. So whatever else we need to flesh out a little bit is the first one is just like, tell me a little bit more about what you do, who do you serve, what do you do right now? Okay. So they'll just brain dump that. Second question is, okay, I want you to go back maybe about, 5-ish years normally and talk to me about like, where did you come from? How did you get into that? How did you start that? How did you get into entrepreneurship? Tell me just a little bit about what's going on in your world there, right? And usually people will start with the logistics of life. And you're probably going to start with this when you do it for yourself, the logistics of life. The logistics of life are not interesting. And most people do not connect to the logistics of your life, right? What they do connect to is the emotional peaks that happened. And so when I'm doing an interview for an extract and clarify, what I am looking for and what I'm feeling into is as they're telling me what they did, the emotional peaks, right? So maybe they did something that was really hard or really easy, or they are repeating kind of the same name or the same word over and over, right? So when you are getting this out on paper or talking it out loud, look for those things that like have a little bit of a surge of emotion, right? And you want to dive into those a little bit more, extract those stories. Then go a little bit back, teen, college years, what were you doing? How did you get into that? And you're trying to follow the path, right? Like you're doing this. Okay, how'd you get there? Okay, how'd you get there? And then go all the way back to childhood stuff. Well, how did you get there? And then the coolest thing in the world happens. So after about 30 minutes of extracting this and going back through your story without fail, and this has happened, we've done this over 30 times now. And every single time the same thing happens. And it's a known phenomena in social science research, but it happens in this space too. And that is when you get all of this out and you step back for a second, right? And you either re-listen or look at the transcripts of your audio or what you've written down, there are clear patterns that emerge. We all circle around the same problem space and the same things again and again and again in our life, right? So, if you look at the stories, you will see those clear patterns that you're trying to understand something. There's some truth, there's some service, there's some knowing that you're trying to get better at throughout your entire life. It may take slightly different forms and slightly different shapes, but it is the same thing throughout your entire life. And that is what allows you to see those clear patterns. And once you see those clear patterns, and usually there's only about 3 or 4 from my experience, there's about 3 or 4 clear patterns of things you deeply care about. Usually they're tied to your values, ways that you choose to spend your time, right? Ways that you want to serve, things that you really care about, people that you really want to advocate for or that you want to serve. There are clear patterns. And more importantly, the why behind those patterns, you now also have because of the stories. And so once we're able to see those patterns and you have these 4 really rich pieces of information, you have what's your big invitation written down, you have your umbrella brand, you have the world that you're trying to create, and you have the clear patterns from your past. Now you take all of that, and especially using ChatGPT nowadays, we used to do it just, copywriter and us saying it. But now what you can do is now what we would do if you are going to build a funnel hub is we would put the funnel hub prompts and then all of the transcripts and what you've written down into something like a chat GPT, where now you can say, okay, in the funnel hub, we know that we have a big invitation for the world. Try to use these clear patterns and pull from what I've already done and then create an amazing, give me 10 options for an amazing invitation to the world using that information. And without fail, so the reason why we're able to do Funnel Hub in a day, how it's structured is we meet on a Friday at usually about 7 a.m. Pacific for an hour, and we'll show them the entire hub. And then we break for an hour to make any changes, and then we get back together for an hour and make another version of feedback and changes, and then a break for an hour, and then the third hour is where we launch. And the reason why we're able to do this in just 3 hours, basically, of touch point with 3 hours in between of just iterations and changes, right, is because most of the time, the very first pass that we show them, there's maybe only 10 to 20% max actually needs to be updated. And they're minor, usually minor updates, right? And it's because everything that we extracted here allows us to be able to tell the story of that entrepreneur, how they want to serve, what is their big invitation, what do they care about, what is their origin story through the things that matter, through the patterns that contribute to the way that they serve now. And so that is the process for us to do that extract and clarify session. And so the reason why this is so important, whether you use this to make a funnel hub, which was the original sole purpose, but what it turned into is that we realized when we were able to do this first with our clients, and without fail, this has happened. When we're able to do that funnel hub in a day service first, or at least the extract and clarify session first with our clients, funnel builds go faster, our ability to be able to decipher, yep, good offer, not good offer. Yes, that's a good product in there. Yes, they're our target. Yes, that's the right message, is because we have this bedrock of that information. It creates incredible clarity, which allows for the continuity to be possible, because then we can continuously, which is essentially being in the flow, right? And continuing to be in the flow and building that business with consistency. It allows you to be able to do that. And so those four things allow for the extract and clarify. Hey, Jenna, thanks for joining. And it allows you to be able to continue on that journey with the creation of your continuity. So we, during the Create Continuity Challenge, will not be talking about this extract and clarify, but if you want to do a little bit of homework prior, because we have a lot of people that's joined us next week, and we are so looking forward to you being there and to diving deep into your continuity processes and what you have in your business for continuity and how you do your level 1, level 2 continuities. Doing this exercise will help you during the challenge. Now, don't worry if you don't have time to do it. It's all good. We're going to take care of you. You're going to be able to get everything that you need during the Create Continuity Challenge. But if you are able to do it prior, you will be able to go even deeper into some of the things that we'll be talking about during that challenge. So again, big shout out. So happy to actually be with the groups. Sebastian, thanks for joining us. So glad to have you here. And then Kayleen, so glad about the clarity. Amazing. And if you guys have any questions as you go forward and try these things out, then please drop them in the Geek Out group. We'd love to support you on your journey and hear how the extraction is going. If you do run into any obstacles, go ahead and drop into the group. We have some techniques that allows that to come forward. And awesome, Warren. I'm so glad that resonated. Until then, we look forward to having you guys at the Create Continuity Challenge next week. Also, this Friday, Geek Out workshop announcement will be made today about what we're focusing on there. Again, we will continue the thread of continuity, and wishing you guys all a very wonderful Thursday. And we'll see you guys in the Geek Out group. Have a great day.